Welcome to our week 8 art assignment, which is all about vision. And we're going to go to the beach today. I was just at the beach a couple of weeks ago, and so I thought we could all go to the beach today. And so to begin, I invite you to simply grab some markers and some pens and draw a sketch of a beach scene. And this can be however it comes out. It's not about drawing skill or anything like that. This is just about having fun. And this can be a sketch where you are at the beach, or you're looking at the beach, or a beach scene that is something that you remember, or a made-up beach scene, anything at all. I'll give you some time to do that. Just play with your beach sketch. If you just hopped on, I put the first step of our warm-up art assignment in the group chat so you can get caught up and see where we are. Carol Gurutej, I put the first instruction of what we're doing right now. It's in the chat pane, so you can look there. All right, and you can just bring a close to your sketch. Oh, Carol, you're not seeing anything in the chat. Maybe it was because maybe it doesn't show up once you arrive. That could be it. We just simply sketched a beach scene of a beach in any way that it comes out. We're going to use the beach as a metaphor and an environment for our exploration. I also want to encourage you, if a different environment or setting or scene comes to mind or comes to heart, to feel free to follow that, especially if for you, if the beach is not a particularly inspiring or soothing reference for you, you may come up with something else as another place that is a location where you might want to like to hang out. So I offer that as an invitation. If you want to tweak where you are, you can be anywhere for this exercise. Look at your drawing, your sketch that you just did, And now I would love to invite you to write down a list of things that you appreciate about this beach that you've just created, about this picture. And it can be things that you actually like or appreciate about the picture, the drawing itself, or it could also be things that you appreciate in your mind's eye of whatever you created. You can simply use the prompt, I appreciate blank, and looking at this picture, I appreciate blank, I appreciate blank, I appreciate blank. You could also say, I like blank, or I enjoy blank. Just get a handful of phrases around what you appreciate, what you enjoy about this picture that you have brought to life. Now are a few more prompts to add to your writing that you can complete if you like. Just skip a few of them. My favorite thing about my beach scene is blank. My favorite thing about my beach scene is blank. The next prompt is, in my beach scene, I am curious about the next one is, if I were in this scene right now, I would want to, if I were in this scene right now, I would want to And now, since our topic for tonight is vision, our vision, what it is that we want in order to get what we want and create what we want and invite what we want, we have to know what it is that we want. And that's what we're playing with. So now I just invite you to look at your sketch with an eye out for vision. If there was something in this picture that had something significant related to your vision, just make a note of it. And if nothing is coming right now, that's fine. We're going to do another phase to our exercise. But before we do, I just invite you to look at this first. Just take this moment and see, what does this picture help me understand or know or realize or wonder about my vision? I'll invite you to bring this particular inquiry to a close, and in a moment you can certainly write more about it. Capture whatever you're holding on to this very moment. And now we're going to play with vision. And first, I just invite you to do a quick word collage about vision. But we'll call this a curiosity word collage because I'm interested in gathering what you are curious about when it comes to your vision. So write the word vision in the center of a page and then fill around the word questions, thoughts, words, phrases, or doodles that come to mind when you are curious about your vision. I'll give you 1 minute, a literal 60 seconds, to fill this page with your word collage, your curious word collage of vision. And just 10 more seconds to wrap that up. All right, so now I invite you to land on a specific question that's coming here. The prompt might be something like, when it comes to my vision, what I really want to know is blank. You can pick one of the inquiries or a whole new one could pop into your mind. You can't do this wrong. When it comes to my vision, what I really want to know, what I really wish to know, what I really desire to know or understand is. Anybody needs a moment to articulate something that you can hold as your inquiry or question, just raise your hand if you still need a minute to. Doesn't have to be fully complete, but let's get something on page. We'll give a little more time. All right, I'm going to move us to the next phase of our play here. Wherever you are in the process right now is totally fine. You may have something that feels specific or not. It does not matter. As always, just invite you to be open, open your heart and see what happens. All right, so take a moment, and if you're comfortable, just close your eyes and imagine that beach scene that you just drew and you just explored a little bit through writing. And if you can just feel that scene and see if there's anything that you want to change or alter to make it even more abundantly what you want and need. You can notice if anything comes to mind to change from your initial sketch into this feeling of a beach scene or an ocean scene where you really feel nourished, alive, peaceful, or whatever it is that you really desire and crave to feel. And keeping that feeling in your heart, I invite you to open your eyes, grab a pen, we're going to write again. And this time we're going to write a story. I will give prompts for the story, and I invite you to write what I say and then keep writing to complete the phrases. The first sentence of the story begins like this. I am on a beach. All around me, I see, and now just keep writing. I'll put the prompts in the chat in case you need to see them again. The next prompt is, I smell and bring that into I hear. I taste. And I feel blank. The next prompt is, as I look around, I notice here's the next prompt. Suddenly, I notice something is floating into the sea. I should say into the shore. I notice something is floating into the shore. It is the next phrase is, as I get closer, I can see Here's the next prompt. I look again, and this time I see there is a message. I notice the next prompt is, surprisingly, I can make out a few words written on the, and you can fill that in with whatever comes to mind. Surprisingly, I can make out a few words written on the. The next prompt is, I see it says, the answer is, and just write the first thing that just comes to your mind here in this moment. It doesn't have to make sense at all. And at this point, I invite you to have your choice. You can either keep writing your story about this message of some sort that is being brought to you, or you can move to your art supplies or your art materials and create an illustration for this story. You may find that the story isn't over. You may not even know how it ends, and perhaps making your art with your hands will take you in an unexpected way. There's no right or wrong way to do this. It simply is planting the seed for exploring a layer of vision and an answer to the question that you posed a little earlier. So I'll check in 20 minutes. We'll connect in 40. Hey, Barb, would you like me to post a summary of what we did so far? I will do that. There is no right or wrong way to do this, and if you're not sure where to begin, just start moving your hands. Get some markers, grab something, and just start moving and see what happens with what's washed up on the shore for you. If at any point you want to go back to any of the things we did at the beginning, perhaps landing back on the question you identified about vision, or any of the other things that we did in our warm-up, that's another place you can get some further inspiration. Have fun, play, be curious, and I'll check in with you in 20 minutes.
Marnie, I have a few questions about Photoshop to ask you. You are muted. I don't understand you.
Sorry, I was muted. Yes, about Photoshop, you said, Caro?
Yes.
Perfect. I'm going to post a summary for Barb, who just hopped on, and then I'll put us in a private room. All right?
All right.
All right. Let's share our creations and see where they wanted to go, where they wanted to take us tonight. We started with a story and started with an inquiry, and it would be awesome if you'd like to share. If you'd like, you could say what that inquiry was, that question that you landed on about your vision, and maybe your art addressed it or not. It's all about being open to discovery. Who will go first to share? Everybody's still working so busily. Nobody's ready to share. Carol will share. Oh no, she's not saying she wants to share. I was about to call you, Barbara. I was about to say, come on, my girl Barbara can share for us.
Yeah, I'll share.
Yay.
Well, this last weekend, I got to spend 4 days at the beach as well. And one of the most majestic beaches, they're the most majestic beaches I've really ever been on, are that at the Oregon coast. And so what's interesting is that I as we were writing, I came back to what I wrote about a meditation that I did on the beach the other day. And the words that I wrote in our prompts were very similar to what I wrote on here. I'll do it really quickly. I said, I'm sitting on the beach in the soft, cool sand, eyes closed, sweet, relaxed smile on my face. I am being warmed by the sun, by each individual ray that peeks through the motion of the clouds. The sun kisses my skin and my breath eases with each touch. The wind is gentle as it swirls around my body, and I can feel it take hold of me as it sways me back and forth. I feel weightless and almost like I am in flight. The sound of the waves is a song of peace that goes on and on, praying for the life of the earth. Behind me are magnificent tree-covered mountains that are protectors from what is on the other side. I feel warm, secure, and protected. I am aware of the native people who lived here. I can feel their spirits all around me, and if I listen close enough, I can hear their voices in the wind, but cannot ascertain what they are saying. I am the only one on the beach for miles and miles. I cannot see a single soul anywhere. And then a great bald eagle appears and dances above me. Its wings are like hands reaching out for me to take hold, but I cannot reach her. She comes closer and looks at me straight in my eyes and tells me I already know, and then flies away as silently as she came. I am curious and bewildered as to what her message was to me. What do I already know? I start to feel uncomfortable and even feel a bit anxious. What comes to me is the message to walk. I go down by the water's edge and walk. And so that was my meditation that I did on the full moon. And I was at the ocean. Well, interesting, what came up on my images is I'm at the mountains. And these are the painted mountains in Peru, and they actually look like this. But I don't know why it showed up, but the images that came up for me was this little girl with these great spectacles on, looking out and beyond into the future. There's the eagle. There's me meditating. I don't know about the motorcycle, but the thrill of being on the motorcycle and just these two images. But I said today to a friend of mine that being on the beach was better than a chocolate ice cream cone. And there's my chocolate ice cream cone. So it just, the synchronicity of where you guided us and what already came to be a couple days ago.
is the piece that you just wrote, Barbara, was that what you wrote tonight, or was that what you wrote a couple of days ago?
That was what I wrote for my meditation a couple days ago.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, you would think, I mean, I didn't realize that until the end. I thought you were just writing to the prompts. Whoa,
No.
that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Cool. So what would you say, what's your vision takeaway?
Well, you know, it's the inquiry of what is it that I already know. I've been there before, but there's as I move out of and move into, you know, my inquiry is, what do I already know?
Awesome. That's a great inquiry. Oh my gosh. I love it. I love it. I've got all tingly because of the prompts and the story. I mean, that's kind of crazy. That's really, really
I know.
Wow.
Yeah, I went right back because I'm part of a meditation group, and I sent this to them. And so I just printed it out and said, boy, this is what I'm writing.
Well, it wasn't until the very end where I realized, wait, maybe did she say this wasn't to this story? Anyway, fascinating. Thank you for sharing. And I love that the painted mountains, just gorgeous. Thank you, Barbara. Who will share next? Mary Fran, awesome.
So I have this for the warm-up, I guess it was, about vision. And in the story, I was with friends who were playing and singing and celebrating and having fun. And I realized that, and what came in was a dolphin, a baby dolphin that got off course. And so my friends and I were turning it around and sending it back. And then the vision, or the words that came in, the message was love, you know. And when you're down the shore, where I go to the shore in South Carolina, there's planes that go by that have messages, personal messages, and it's like somebody loves somebody else, you know. So it was a message of love. So what I realize is that my vision is to give and receive and share in love and generosity. And my question was, what more do I need to do? Like, am I missing something? What should I be doing? And basically the message is, I'm doing it. It's just to continue and expand and follow my guidance. So it's really neat. Thank you.
That's awesome. Did you play with a little bit of drawing and sketching in your time, or were you mostly writing?
Oh, I did, but it's pretty bad. No. But I did find a picture on Google that, I Googled pictures of beaches, and I found one I really, really like. You know.
Excellent, excellent. I would invite a reframe instead of saying it's really bad. Perhaps there's another word that you might use to reframe that. You might say something like, it's a bit primitive.
Oh, it's very primitive.
Or it's a little simplistic. I'm not really wanting to share, or something. Let's get you in a little, reframe mind.
Okay. Thanks.
Especially in ARTsignment, there is no such thing as a bad drawing.
Well, let's say it didn't turn out.
There you go. It didn't quite match what I was envisioning.
Right, what was in my head. Right.
Yeah, there. See how different that is?
Yes,
that's much different from it's really bad. It didn't match what I had in my head.
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing your inquiry, and I'm really moved by what you shared about the vision of love too.
Yeah, thanks.
Tej, I saw your hand up.
Yes. Well, this was very interesting. When I looked ahead earlier this afternoon about getting beachy things together, I thought, oh, I've got lots of beachy things, and I do. And so I gathered a bag of seashells and some little tiny seashells and another box of seashells and some sand. And when we started our artwork, I started a watercolor of just the variations of color that can be found at the beach at sunset. And then I stopped. It was just like, that's it. And I got in it a little bit late for the picture. So Mary Fran, this is how rough my picture can be. So I wrote it on an advertisement, Target would like me back. So I just kind of exclude all that. So there is a beach and then the sun sinking into the horizon with the rays that were just going everywhere. We had amazing sunsets this week. And then these little birds, I love these little birds. They run really fast all over the sand. And I think they might be called sandpipers. And so then I just kind of showed myself just walking along on the beach. And it says walking easily, because I walk with a walker. So it would be nice just to leave that up in the parking lot somewhere. And how the beach, you know, the water was very close to me there and was in the distance coming up, so I could walk a long way with that. So that was my picture. And but then as I kept writing and you know, exploring, what I came up with was kind of like oh, excuse me. So there we go. So so what came to me was you know, I love the beach. It brought back a lot of memories because it's 2 years ago that my best friend died. And she and I went to junior high and high school together, ditching school, living entirely at the beach, had great tans. And it made me realize how much I miss, excuse me, how much I really miss her. Because we just did whatever we want, and we were always in trouble, but we did whatever we wanted. And it just brought back a lot of memories. And so the other very, very favorite place is Espanola, New Mexico. And I love it. I love the dirt. I love the earth. The skies and the sunsets are just amazing. And so I stopped the painting at the beach because I think I'm going to redo that a little bit and add more of the canyons and that kind of stuff to it. So vision-wise, it was just, I wasn't sure whether it was the vision for the future or the vision of the past memories of just, you know, walking barefoot and skinny little flip-flops that didn't need any orthotics in them or anything. And just walking with the wind and the sun and it was just such an easy time and easy breathing, easy having dreams and stuff. And so I wasn't sure exactly if that was the memory or if that was what the vision was. So it was very interesting. I didn't expect all that. So that's that.
Thank you for sharing so much with us and interesting reflections about vision, past, future. It's all part of vision, for sure. Thank you, Tej. Who will share next? I keep being drawn to Janet Beach, of course, because we've been talking about the beach.
Yes,
This
I know.
literally had your name on it.
It's always
always nice at the beach, right?
Mhm.
So for me, I started out, I did a drawing as if it were, you know, a tropical place and the ocean and a palm tree and all that. But then when I thought about it, the place that really meant something to me was Lake Michigan. And we had our very best friends of, you know, over 30 plus years. We used to rent a cottage on Lake Michigan, and the last time we were there, we would sit out on a dune, and we were there for a week, and every evening we'd sit there and just in silence and wait for the sun to go down. And it reminded me of, I don't know, peoples who do that, you know, of Madeline Leangle's story had that, and I know many Native people were, they always go out and greet the dawn and then watch the sun go down as kind of part of the sacred cycle of life. And the feeling I had was of being part of, just feeling part of eternity and that cycle. And then when we went through the story, what came up on the beach was, it brought me back to that was one of those kind of big dreams. And I won't tell the whole thing, but in my story, it was, well, the one thing in my dream was, it was a whole cycle of life thing with salmon. And part of the dream was filling a container and putting it back into the ocean. But in the dream, I don't know what's in it. And I felt like, oh, now the container came back to me and I can see what's in it. And it just, I think I want to do more of that. I think I want to work with that and figure out what was in it. But one thing I do is for all my dream journals, I always, I make very elaborate covers, front and back covers. And the last one I did was, the back cover is based on that dream. And I just worked on that a little bit more. And because I've been working on it for a while. And this is the, I don't know if you can see it, the cover. So it's all about the cycle of salmon. And in my dream, I had these little boys that came up, all these little boy energies, and then it all goes back again. And in the middle, it's, I cut that out from a wee moon calendar, and then added the phoenix who's still figuring out what to do, and the moon crone planning her next endeavor. And for this, I had just the inspiration that rather than showing the container going back into the ocean, it was, as you know, from the ocean, I think of as our unconscious, the things coming up to nourish us and tell us about ourselves. And then it occurred to me that it goes all the way around, that what we learn in life and what we have, the light we develop, that goes back again. So I put these little lighted lanterns that are what I have that goes back and gives back. So it was really nice to think about that. And as I said, I'd like to work on in the future what's in my box. So
That's
that was
awesome. I love bringing the salmon story into that. That's fantastic. All right, let's hear from somebody else. Raise your hand if you're ready to share. Sally. Hey, Sally.
Hello. Let me share my screen here.
Yay.
I'm getting better at my navigation. So what I found really interesting, I got on the call late because I was actually on my other computer that's dying to get some of these images off that are personal to me. And what I found really interesting is when I was putting them on this paper, they're like little postage stamps almost. So I thought it was very interesting that as soon as I got your email, Marnie, about what we were going to be doing, when I shut down my email, I had this folder in the middle of my computer screen that said Big Vision that was clicked on, and I couldn't get the clicker off of it. Like, it was highlighted, and I didn't even know what it was. I didn't even know what was in it. And so I thought, well, that's really, obviously the energy is already flowing because it's about, big vision. And so I came on the call a little bit late, which was great because I did want to download things that I had a personal connection to, but also it just gave me time to kind of center and be present to, I used to visit my parents in Florida on an island, and that's the seashell it's called the seashell capital of the world. So, I mean, you go out and there's just, all of these seashells every morning. And so there's just such a sense of abundance and, from the sea in that way. And so when I was looking for the lettering for big, because I was going to do big, I found the big screen, and I was intrigued by that. And I don't quite know what that means yet. But I also thought it was interesting that when I did my vision word collage, that I was really drawn to the word vision and the energy just in the letters. And that really informed me very strongly. And so this is kind of bits and pieces of things. The picture in the corner at the top is very similar. It's the same artist artwork that I have that actually I found in Alaska. And I kept thinking I was going to find this mermaid in Florida, and so every year when I would go see my parents, I'd be, I know there's this mermaid painting somewhere, but it took me going to Alaska to find her, which I thought was so interesting. And to me, it really reflects kind of like this vision that sometimes I think vision's going to be one place, but really it shows up in a more unexpected place. And then the little red slippers, the ruby red slippers image, which is very little, it's above the big screen, is actually a print that I got my mom for Mother's Day one year when I was visiting there because, of course, being born in Kansas, and she was born in Kansas, the whole family, has the whole Wizard of Oz theme going. And I loved the energy of the Wizard of Oz can really happen anywhere. It doesn't have to be just the Emerald City. So vision, again, doesn't have to happen in a particular place. It can happen in an unexpected place. And then these are jewelry, the starfish and this little necklace. Again, it's that abundance, and it's creating something different from something unexpected, because the little one is actually a stone in the middle of a broken shell. And so again, vision, like there's like this underlying energy that vision has to be like perfect, and it has to be just right. And I love the broken shell with the stone in it because it's like, no, the pieces can come together to create something different. And that's really what I kind of felt about all of them being so small, was that together, the little pieces together make the big vision, where I tend to see big vision as starting out big and going then down into the pieces. And I really felt like this ARTsignment really brought me to this place of almost like shifting my perspective of it's putting together the little pieces to create the big vision. So, and then there's a little, this is actually a crystal that I have, which is really hard to see. It's a, it's like a little, it's a crystal that has a heart on it. And that's the image down here in front of the ocean. And, you know, that's where my heart is. The ocean is just a very magical place for me and very special, and it has lots of memories. And so somehow the ocean and the big screen and vision are all together somehow for me. So that's what came up for me.
That's so cool, and I love all of the unknowns here and just following them. And you know, I'm really curious to just to see where the big screen goes, and just awesome. It was really, really, really fun to listen to all the connections there. All right, who will share next? Great. Hey, Carol.
Oh, this is in a totally unfinished kind of place. I'll have to play with it a lot more, but it was very interesting to start out at the beach and take a little detour through the words play with vision, because I'm starting vision therapy right now and learning how to do things like juggle tennis balls and swing my right leg and watch another one that's going and catch the ball, and everything's up in the air, and life is kind of like that right now. So that was really interesting. I didn't actually end up going that way. The thing that washed up on the shore as we were doing the stories was a seashell, which is one that my grandmother had and now I have. And so I went in and took a picture of it and started sort of thinking about beach images that are personal to me. And this is my grandmother's seashell here. And then this is a beach in Hawaii where my cousin's granddaughter got married. We hauled 40 people from Texas and me from New York to Hawaii for this amazing wedding. And this was the hotel beach where I would just sit out and listen to the waves for the longest time. It was so wonderful. And then on the bottom is a beach that I was never on, but this is my little dog Russell, who was found in Italy, stayed in France, and they kept sending me, this is the first picture I saw of him. He was a little rescue. And he was on the beach in the Riviera in France. What's wrong with this picture? That was just happened to be lying out on the table over there. So I don't know exactly where this is going to take me, but these are all beach things that are related to beings that are my family and that are important in my life. And I was not expecting to go there tonight, but it was really cool. So up in the corner, I just wrote, listen, it's staring you in the face, which is the message that came up in the story of the object that washed up on the shore, the seashell. And then over here, seeing was part of the vision word collage. And I have inner and outer and far and near because I'm terribly nearsighted. And so this vision therapy hopefully is going to clear some things up for me and help me look out into the world a little bit more. And then down in the corner, the feeling of the beach and the vision of peace and love and calm. And somehow those all are a theme and flowing together for me. So that's the whole thing. And that's where I am so far with it.
That's awesome. I'm loving seeing so many different things here, and just really, really, really cool. And that shell and just pulling around, you know, creating kind of that as a focal piece and building around it. It's just beautiful. Barb or Carolina? Barb, you'll share? Awesome.
Okay. A week ago, I was in a storytelling workshop, and it was presented by a story coach who coaches people on how to get ready for TED Talks. I just signed up because I didn't know what was going to happen. And so we ended up, there were a lot of writing prompts. So, you know, I had your experience of all these writing prompts. And what I got told at the end, I put together a story on something that had nothing to do with dolls. It was a storyboard process that I've created. And she said, "Oh, you're so ready for TED Talks." And I went, "Oh, swell. You know, let's add this onto the list of things that I want to do and get out there in the world, along with writing books and making art and doing all these other things." So, and coming late, I was just surprised how everything just flowed from me. It kind of felt like active imagination. So the first thing I think of when I think of vision is I drew an eye, and then I focused on the sea and just did some general things about the sea. So I thought, well, I see a big sun and it's a sunset, and then the snail showed up, and then a pail with sand in it, and a sand castle. So then I got into I'm on a beach, and what do I see? And you know, typical kinds of things, like I see sand and water and a sunrise, and I smell the sea air, and I hear seagulls. And as I look around, I notice a large snail with a seashell on her back. And suddenly, you know, I see, and what coming to me is a tiny toy boat with a sailor on top, riding in the boat, a sailor doll. Surprisingly, and then she has a note, she has a message, and I open it up, and she said, "Go to your library and choose a book and turn to any page and read what it says." So I went to my library and I pulled out this book on 21 Secrets of Creative Women, and I turned to the chapter on, what is it on? Committing to self-focus. Okay, so we're on a roll now, right? And so I read, "To my surprise, keeping my attention steady." And and the question I had, you have to know this in order to understand why this is important. So the two questions I had was, how do I see the bigger or deeper vision? And this one in particular, how do I manage all my ideas and projects? So that one was what I was really focused on. So I opened up to this page, and it says, "To my surprise, keeping my attention steady and confined to a few activities will build a whole new discipline. And a single-minded focus of repetition, order, and inspired monotony." Inspired monotony. It wasn't hateful, and it didn't limit me, but the structure brought a whole kind of different feeling of freedom, like discipline creating freedom. I hadn't thought of that before. So organizing my life around its priorities, relationships, creative work, and service, has a calming effect. So I'm thinking I'm getting all full and I'm getting all wound up, but this reading is telling me that, well, if I have some discipline around it and maybe think about what this inspired monotony might be, then I might have a calming effect instead of what am I going to do with all these things? So I looked around my studio and I thought, there's got to be a piece of art that I've done around this. And I found this box I probably made 15 years ago. And there's, "So what do you see?" And see the spiral he's holding? It's the same spiral as the snail. So, you know, I think my position on all of this is that we really are doing art for our lifetime, that we continue to make art, and that we get little signs and symbols that show up along the way that are always there. And we can go back and see that we were already on this path a long time ago. We just didn't know it. And so I loved it. So then I was listening to, oh, and then I wrote that structure brings a different kind of freedom. So between discipline and structure, I answered my question.
You totally did.
I did. I got the answer.
You totally did.
Yeah.
And I'm delighted to tell you, I shared this with Mary Fran and Cairo when we were in our little small group for a moment. But because of what you said a couple of weeks ago, I'll bring it back to let you know that I'm going to continue with another series after this, because next week's our last class. But I'm gonna keep going. I think we'll take a little break, holidays, and then come back. And so I was tickled by you saying you wanted to do this every Thursday night.
I was starting to feel like I'm supposed to be doing something tonight. What is it? It's like you just kind of count on it.
That's wonderful.
I think I was kind of there, but
that's wonderful. The reason I bring it up is because of what you say and what you pointed out so astutely, which is that, as we're creating our lives and as art is allowing us to reflect on those things, there are all these things that were always there. And that's one of the interesting things about ARTsignments. And that's whether they're beautiful, elaborate pieces or they're things that, as Mary Fran might say, didn't quite match the vision in her head. Whatever we've created, it's like it leaves some footprints behind that we can go back and make so much sense in our lives and see what was there. And it's, there's just the narratives there all along, and I think ARTsignments, when we collect them and keep them in books or file folders or boxes or whatever, it's amazing what they hold. And so a series like this, where we go on for some time, it's really nice to go back and even, reflect on things that we did prior and see how they show up, because so often it's like we're precognizant of things before, our art knows things before we know them sometimes. And so, we see things like Barbara, writing a story that was almost word for word, this prompt that came. Yeah. And that's what our art does. It's like we create it before we know it ourselves. So anyway, that's why it's fun to have extended times of regular art making.
It's kind of like connecting the dots.
Mm-hmm.
Your life is you could say it's a sea of dots.
Mm-hmm.
Life, you start connecting the dots, and
mm-hmm.
some dots more than others, and so playful.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
All right, Carolina.
I was hoping we'd run out of time.
I know you were hoping you're running out of time.
Let me try to share my screen.
Okay.
It's there. Can you see it?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So that's what it is. You want me to read it?
I was just going to ask, would you read it?
I don't think I can, but you can if you want to.
Would you like me to?
Sure.
Okay, I will. I'm on my little laptop, so I have to zoom in a little bit. See if I can get it. Okay, I'll do my best with my little old aging eyes here. First of all, I'm just looking at the picture and how cool that is. It's really neat. I am on a beach. All around me, I see nothing, for my gaze is fixed on the horizon where the sky and the ocean melt into one. I smell the ocean water. I hear the crashing of the waves. I taste the saltiness of the air, and I feel at peace. As I look around, I notice that the distraction is too much for me to handle. I close my eyes to a focus again on the here and now. Suddenly, I notice something floating into the shore. It is a ray of light that brightens the darkness in my mind. As I get closer to the light, I can see that the light is the here and now. I look again And I see that there is a message. I notice that the message is that we do not need to look with our eyes to see what is important. Surprisingly, I can make out a few words written on the light that surrounds me. The answer is in my heart, not in my mind. For God cannot be seen like other things are seen. God cannot be felt like other things are felt. It is in the quiet that we hear his sweet whispers, and in the darkness that his light shines the brightest. It is when we close our eyes and open our hearts that the picture becomes clear, and I come to realize that when my vision stems from his mercy and grace, and that when I allow myself to look at the world through his eyes, I found beauty in all that surrounds me. I see possibility and hope, even in the direst of circumstances. And in that space where heaven meets earth, if I look close enough, I see that in the end, it is truly one and the same.
Wow.
That's beautiful. What's it like hearing it back?
It's easier than reading it myself.
Okay. Fair enough. Thank you for sharing your writing and the picture. Is there anything else you feel like you'd like to share about it? No. Thank you for letting me read it. Thank you all for beautiful beach vision and for keeping vision alive and curious. And there's this is a vision exercise that is not about find the purpose of your life in 6 easy steps. That's not what this is. This is seeing where is my vision in me, and where is it out of me, and where are the places where it meets, as Carolina has just given us that gift. So thank everyone. Thank you all. I see you next week. Our final principle in our 9 principles. Any of you ACT people know what it is? Can you think of what we haven't done yet? We haven't done action. So we will have action as our 9th Art Abundance principle next week. I don't know which ARTsignment yet, but I will. And I'll get to you with a new schedule for what we'll be doing after that. Sally asked me where my vision took me. Yes. So I was spending a majority of the time I was answering some digital questions. So I didn't play as much as I usually do in this, but I did have a really good idea that I started. I don't really have anything to share, to show, but so my mind was very much, Sally, and all on my beach time that I just had with my family just recently, which was so lovely. And I was reflecting, and Sally, and some of you know one of my ACT training videos that has my son when he was little bitty running on the beach. Sally, you know the one that I'm talking about? Yeah. And there's just this sort of haunting music in the background, and it's really cool. That was actually the first of those videos that I had made. Anyway, so I had an insight about playing with vision, and I've been doing some video editing for some different creative projects lately, and I thought about how wonderful, how it would be really fun to do something with him on the beach, as a 3-year-old and a 9-year-old, because there's so much similar. We have similar postures, and he's doing, I have him flying a kite when he was 3 and flying a kite when he was 9. And then so I had an idea like, oh, I think that would be a fun project, you know, just for fun. But there's something more to it than that. I think it has to do with, there's something there that was coming to me about the maturation of a vision and how a vision grows. And, you know, I think about different projects that I'm involved with or different endeavors and how they are kind of like children, you know, and how, I mean, Artella's, gosh, you know, 17 years old, and that's very different than, you know, a little baby. And, you know, and just thinking about, yeah, different creative projects and personal projects. And so there's something about the aging process of creative visions. So that's where my mind kind of went. And thinking of visions that grow and run on the beach in different ways and fly kites in different ways. So that's kind of where I went. Nothing to show at the moment, but thank you for asking, Sally. All right, my friends, I'll see you next week for action, and have a wonderful, wonderful evening. I'll unmute everybody so we can say bye.
Bye.
Bye all. Good night.
Good night. Good night.
Good night.